In a quiet valley cradled by ancient hills, there lived a monk named Soren. Each morning he sat by the river, his heart open to its endless song, a melody of peace that wrapped around him like a warm embrace. The river was his teacher, its rhythm a gentle whisper. All things pass, all things flow. Soren had learned to sit in stillness, to let the world's chaos ripple past without stirring the calm within him. There, in the valley's tender silence, he felt whole. But one day, the river's song was shattered by a storm not of nature, but of a wounded heart. A traveler, weary from a long and bitter journey, stumbled into the valley. His face was a map of frustration, eyes narrowed with resentment, jaw tight with unspoken pain. He carried the weight of losses he couldn't name, anger that burned like a fire in his chest, threatening to consume him. When he saw Soren sitting in serene stillness, a wave of fury crashed over him. "You lazy fool," he cried, his voice sharp as a blade, trembling with rage. "Sitting there while the world burns, you're nothing, a coward hiding from life." The words tore through the air, harsh against the river's gentle hum, like stones thrown into still water. They hung there heavy with the traveler's bitterness, aching to wound. Soren didn't flinch. He sat, as steady as the rock beneath him, his breath slow and even, his heart unshaken. A quiet joy lived in him, a peace so deep the traveler's words couldn't touch it. They settled around him like dust after a storm, unable to pierce the stillness he'd cultivated over years. The traveler paced, his anger a tempest swirling in the quiet valley, his footsteps crunching against the earth with restless energy. His chest heaved with the weight of his own storm, a storm he longed to share, to force upon another. "Why don't you answer?" he demanded, his voice cracking with desperation. "Are you deaf? Or do you mock me with your stillness? Speak, or I'll make you." The threat lingered, raw and jagged, but Soren's peace held firm, a lighthouse in the traveler's hurricane. After a long, heavy moment, Soren opened his eyes, their depths calm as the river beside him, shimmering with a quiet compassion. He looked at the traveler, not with judgment, but with a tender knowing, as if he saw the storm beneath the man's words, the hurt fueling his fire. Slowly he raised a hand and pointed to the water, his movement gentle, deliberate. "Listen," he said, his voice as soft as the morning mist that clung to the valley, carrying a warmth that seemed to wrap around the traveler's rage. The traveler scoffed, his brow furrowing in confusion, his anger battling the monk's calm. "What's there to hear?" he spat, his tone sharp, but faltering. "It's just water, meaningless noise." Soren nodded, a faint smile touching his lips, a smile that held the wisdom of countless dawns. "Yes, water that flows, no matter what you throw in. It doesn't stop. It doesn't fight. It moves." "Your words are like that pebble," Soren continued, his tone steady, unhurried, each word a balm to the traveler's wounded spirit. "They splash, they ripple, but they don't change the river's path. Why should they change mine?" The traveler froze, his clenched fists loosening as the words sank into him like rain into parched earth. A flicker of relief crossed his face, a softening of the storm within. He sat by the river, his anger melting into the earth, replaced by a quiet awe. He saw it then, the peace he'd tried to break but couldn't touch, a peace that felt like a long-forgotten home. Soren smiled gently, his eyes warm with understanding. "You carry your storm. I'll carry my flow. Let the river teach you what it's taught me. What isn't yours to hold you don't need to keep." The traveler stayed by the river that day, longer than he'd ever planned. He listened to its song, each ripple washing away a piece of his storm, soothing the ache he'd carried for so long. When he left, he was lighter, his steps softer, his heart quieter, as if the river had whispered a secret only he could hear. Soren taught him what the river always knew. Anger seeks a target, but peace chooses its path. When someone throws a stone your way, let it sink. Don't carry it. The river doesn't fight the stones, it flows around them. So can you. Take a moment. What storm can you let pass? What weight can you release today? Feel the stillness. Let it hold you. This is Enlighten Zen, a sanctuary of peace in a world of noise. If this story brought you peace, share your thoughts below. Let's find stillness together.